What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens episode review. Today, guys, we are going to be going over episode 41 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. So, guys, I'm very excited, as always, to get into this episode, because I will say this, we got a lot to talk about in this episode. Like, be prepared. So, without further ado, let's not waste any more time, and we definitely don't need to waste time. Let's get right into it. So, what were my thoughts on this episode? I will say this, I did not expect a lot to happen this episode, but this episode did surprise me with the amount of stuff that we ended up getting in this episode. From beginning to end, there was just always just like something very interesting that came with this episode, and it definitely blew my expectations for this episode. To be honest, going into this episode, I really didn't think I was going to be interested in this episode at all. I thought it was very weird that Ron's was going to be leaving the student council in the Shogetsu style. I thought that was a very weird and interesting thing. But other than that, I didn't expect much of this episode. But obviously, it proved me wrong in this episode. So let's talk about it, shall we? So the episode starts off. We actually start out at Goa Corporations. We kind of see how Rush Duels have now become this big hit for all the people around Goha City, and this is starting to get a concern with President Drone, and this is where the first big thing comes out of nowhere. We see one of the members of the Goha Corporation, that guy that keeps coming in once in a while to go and talk to Mr. Goha and Mimi. He ends up bringing this notebook, which makes it very weird from the start, and all you see is this thing that looked like it was drawn by a 4-year-old, and it has a big old X on the Rush dual disc, and they open it up, and then all you see from this beginning part was that Mimi kind of looked almost like she was nervous when she was reading this. She's like, this is... And then that's where you go into the opening. So, right off the bat, this is just like a very weird thing to start off this episode. So, this is where we go into the next thing, because the beginning was like the more parts that I was not expecting. Then you had the whole middle part with the whole Ron's thing, and then you had the end with a little bit more of like some very interesting things at the end. But this upcoming thing, the next thing we're going to be talking about, is one of the craziest things about this episode. And I don't know if many people remember that, because they went away with it after that little discussion they had after the whole thing with Ron's ended up coming out. But Gakuto and Luke were talking to these 3 random nobody characters, and apparently one of the kids says that one of his friend of his friend or something like that. I don't know. Like, you know, it's kind of similar to like, does anyone remember when Django was first introduced and he was talking about like his cousin's neighbor's friend or something like that, like gave him a newspaper about Rush Duels? Like, that's kind of similar what this episode kind of did. And this kid says that his friend, this other kid, ended up getting a maximum card. Now, if you remember, there's only 3 maximum cards in existence: Worm Excavator, then you have Overroad, and then you have YGG Drago, Asana, Yuga, and Neil's respective aces. That is the only known ones to be out. And this just puts them in immediate shock, because it's very weird, because how in the world would this kid be able to get a maximum card? And one thought that they ended up thinking of was, is Gohan now mass producing maximum cards? Like, are they like starting to acknowledge Rush Duels? Because this is all coming out of nowhere. So it's really weird, and now they have to think like, where are these cards coming from? Because look at what they had to do to get maximum cards. They had to use ID accounts to get these cards made. So, for another kid to be able to get a maximum card out of nowhere, the only fingers you could really point to is Goha Corporation, unless they're doing the same thing Asana did, which isn't going to last very long. But they start kind of speculating with Goha, and maybe that's what they're trying to do, is they're actually starting to mass produce maximum cards. And that's really all they talk about. As right as they were talking, Ron's ends up coming out of the student council room. She talks to Gakuto and says, "Hey, I am going to be leaving the student council office and the Sugetsu style. Thank you so much for basically being there and being my master and all that stuff." And I will say this was actually absolutely hilarious. When she does that, Gakuto's like, okay, bye. And then he gets back in a conversation. Not even 10 seconds later, Yuga, Luke, and Gakuto just turn around and just start yelling at Ron's like, what are you talking about? What? Like, she doesn't even, like, this whole, like, thing with Ron's was just weird because she was all smiling, she was all happy about it. And, Gakuto had it, and then it got very serious very quickly. Like, it took like a 180 out of nowhere. And they were kind of confused of what was going on. And she was so calm about this. Like, she was just smiling the entire time when she was talking about this stuff. And Gakuto was not having it. He was not happy about this whatsoever. He was trying to figure out what is going on, why she wants to leave the style. And then the bell rings. He obviously has to go to class. And Ron's does the stupid Ron's eyes thing again. Now, I will say this, though, I did not like that the first time they did it, and they just repeated that again in this episode. So I wasn't a big fan of that again. I am not surprised that they did it again. I guess that's just going to be Ron's whole thing, where she does the Ron's eyes on one guy, and this time it was actually Gakuto. Like, this is like the third guy she's done this to. Like, what in the actual heck is going on, dude? Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what to think of Ron's anymore. I really do not. Like, this character, dude. This character. Oh boy. But they go to class, they meet up with each other again, but obviously they get interrupted by the bell again. But before that, Gakuto challenges Ron's to a duel. If Ron's is able to beat Gakuto in a duel, then she can graduate and go on from the student council. However, if Gakuto wins, she can't do that. She's not allowed to do that. She will not graduate. She will not do any of that. And that's where we get into the whole situation where we see Rinosuke, Yuga, and Roman just sitting at the chair, like sitting on three chairs in that room, which we haven't seen, I think, since the Yuga and Gakuto duel, if I remember correctly. And they're just waiting on Ron's, which was very interesting as well, as Rinosuke stated, like, this is the first time that Gakuto has ever had to wait on Ron's for a duel, because they actually duel a lot with each other, because being the vice president and the president, like, obviously you have that also momentum. Which, actually, speaking of the vice president, before we actually get into the duel, Luke actually took this big opportunity, and I did not think this was the way we were going to go, but Luke's was kind of happy, because if you guys remember back in episode 4, since I did mention the Yuga and Gakuto duel, remember that election that they ended up having with Gakuto versus Luke for being the student council president, and obviously Gakuto winning? Well, apparently, because the vice president is retiring, whoever lost the student council president election apparently becomes the vice president. So now Luke is the new vice president of the student council. Oh, that was something else. And then, like, oh my gosh, like, they were going into the point where Luke was out of his mind, and even Kaizo joined him at the same well. But obviously, Kaizo would take this big opportunity as well. And these two were absolutely crazy. I mean, we find out that he paints in the entire Goha. He paints the whole building blue. Actually, he paints the whole area of the Goha school blue. Like, let me just say this. Where are these drone teachers at? Like, where are they at? How are they allowing this to happen? Now, to be fair, they let the school go to the point where vines are starting to grow out of it, so I don't know. Like, it just seems like there's no one here to stop him from doing that. Like, is there no authority to this? Like, can the vice president of the student council do that? Like, how? How is that approved? I don't understand it. It bothers me. But oh, dude, and I can't wait to talk about that closer to the end because that there was another funny part there. Actually, this episode did get some jokes in there as well that I was actually able to really appreciate. But getting back to the duel, I kind of went off topic there. Well, it's not off topic. I was still talking about the episode. Anyway, we go back into the now we're getting ready for a duel. Ron's finally comes in and they get set the duel. The duel itself I thought was okay. Gonna be honest, I really have not been a big part of Ron's dueling. I don't really. Well, her deck's fine actually. I think it was just an okay duel to be honest. Like it was cool to see their new ace monsters. Like I think this was the first ace monster that Gakuto has used that was not a Yame ruler, which I think was pretty cool. I think the thing that might have hurt this duel a little bit was Ron's was kind of being annoying. I think that was my thing, is Ron's duels has been annoying to me. I don't know if anyone else feels this as well, but Ron's has just been a very annoying character, especially when she was dueling, and she was the same way with this episode as well, because she was making fun of Gakuto every time he summoned a ruler. He summons Yami ruler, makes fun of the rulers, then he gets out semi ruler, and she ends up making fun of that, and then she gets bit in the butt later when he summons a non-Yami ruler and surprises her. Also, another funny thing actually is like for some reason every time they ended their turn, they told the students to stand, end their turn, and then told the students to sit back down. Like, is that part of the Shogetsu style as well? Another thing that was very interesting about this that didn't actually pertain to the duel itself, but like kind of why Ron's is acting like this. Apparently, the reason why Ron's wants to graduate from the Sogetsu style is because she wants to be her own character. She basically wants to be the protagonist. No, I'm not even kidding. They literally say that she wants to be the protagonist. What the actual heck? I remember seeing it. I was like, "Excuse me, what? Excuse me? Is this really where we're going? Is this where it goes to the? Is this where we're going with this character? Like, is this seriously where we're going? I don't know. I mean, I feel like she. Although I will say though, I kind of do feel bad, but also she's kind of acting like she's really like a pity. Like that's your own choice. I mean, that's the weird thing is like if you want to be your own character, that's fine, but like and I think I more go around this towards the end part, so I'll get into that in a second, but I felt like it just didn't I don't know, it just felt weird to me. It was okay, to be honest. I thought it was just okay, but the duel, he summons that new bird monster. I can't remember its name. And Ron's also summoned a new one of their ace monster. It was like a lion monster. I can't remember the names of these ace monsters. I do apologize. I really did like the bird though. I really did like that monster. I think it looked really sick. It's probably my third favorite out of like his aces. He also uses semi-ruler, which he had Kemi-ruler in his hand, and I'm upset. You know what makes me very upset though? All of my favorite ace monsters that these characters have used have only appeared once. For people that have been on the channel for a while, you know that Dragonic Slayer is one of my favorite. In fact, it's actually my favorite monster out of the whole Rush Duel cards. Like, I think it looks so cool with that black and gold. We have not seen that monster have a summoning animation since episode 8. Since episode 8 of the series, which when Rook faced Yugioh. And then Kemi Ruler being actually my favorite ruler out of the bunch, even though yeah, it's just Yami Ruler riding horse, I still think it looks absolutely incredible. We haven't seen that since the Otis duel. He only used that card once, used it for one turn, has not used the card since. So it makes me upset because I want to see these cards again. But Semi Ruler's still pretty cool, nevertheless. Then he's able to go in and win the duel as well. And Rons did put pressure on him, but obviously she was not able to win this again. This ends up being her third loss in the series, and Gakuto just keeping his win streak going. Like, Gakuto has, I will say this much, has impressed me over these last few episodes. Like, he has definitely grown a lot. I'm gonna be honest, at the very beginning of the show, I really was not the biggest fan of Gakuto. I don't know, he kind of annoyed me a little bit, but he has definitely grown on me a lot. Like, really, he has grown a lot as a character. He's become one of my favorite characters in this show so far, so I'm very glad he was able to pull off this win, which, to be fair, I am not surprised about this result because it just didn't make sense. Though, to be fair, I said that last episode, and guess what we ended up getting? Though, there are some things with that. I'm not going to get into that. But the thing that shocked me is that it doesn't matter, because Ron still leaves no matter what. And Gakuto knows this. Like, he realizes that no matter what I can do, there's nothing that I could have done. This was the path she decided to take, and I gotta let her do that. And I have respect for him for that, because people need to follow their own paths. If they feel like they're lost, let them follow the path that they believe is right. Like, if they need help again, you'll always be there to help them out. And I think this might be the best thing for Ron's. I really do believe that. So we just have to wait and see what happens. And even Ron's, and this is kind of where, like, definitely this episode, although I still have mixed feelings with Ron's, I think this episode definitely gave me a little bit more respect for, but I don't know. She's a very interesting character, because she even states, like, she feels like she's kind of holding him back a little bit, and that's another reason why she's kind of wanting to leave. So that's a very interesting point as well. But she ends up leaving the student council. Gakuto and them leave the building. They realize what Rook does. We have a funny scene where Tiger comes out of nowhere, which, I'm going to be honest, I forgot that Tiger was going to be in this episode. To be honest, I only read the summary and cast list once, and I just didn't look at it again. I forgot Tiger was supposed to be in this episode. All she does is to kind of calm Luke down, and just to show, like, basically you put him in his place. She put him in his place, so that was kind of funny there. And then we see this broadcast out of nowhere, and we see the third Sorako clone actually in this episode as well, which I really do hope there is more importance to this character. If you remember back in episode, what was it? I think it was the 34 review that I did. I was really hoping that we would get another one of these characters, so that it feels like these kind of characters could maybe serve some big purposes. Like, I really am hoping that, and I think that would definitely help 34 a lot. And we did see another clone, and she broadcasts all over the world that there's going to be a Rush Duel tournament. Now, I will say this, I actually looked up the name after this. The name of this arc is going to be Team Battle Royale. So, obviously, we need some place to actually battle, and obviously, a tournament's the best option. And come on, I mean, I think it was kind of hinted at already with the last arc. I mean, we got gypped of one last arc, so I guess they're finally making us and now giving us our actual Rush Duel arc, which is actually being hosted by Goha Corporation, so that's very interesting as well. And that's where I do believe that's what the whole notebook thing was before, like I was talking earlier in the review, where I think that person proposed, whoever gave them the notebook, proposed that the best way to get rid of Rush Duels is to make a tournament. Why? I don't know. Maybe this is another way. Similar. I feel like they're going in a similar way like the last arc, because remember how the last arc went, where Rook got that like thing from the pigeon that there was going to be a Rush Duel tournament, and that basically lured them into Asana again, into the position that they were. I think they're going to do that again, where they're going to host this big Rush Duel tournament. This new main villain is going to enter the tournament, and I feel like this tournament is going to go into a style of, like, you remember how Zexal did the World Duel Carnival, where if you won the World Duel Carnival, you got granted one wish? I think they're going to go a same route with this, and this main antagonist is going to enter this tournament, climb his way to the tops, and his wish is going to be to get rid of Rush Duels forever. That Rush Duels are going to be shut down, they can be no longer used anymore, and that's what its goal is going to be. Or, who knows, maybe Mr. Goha will enter this competition. Who really knows? But to me, that's where I see this going. That's where I see like the big route they're gonna go is in this kind of fashion where they're gonna do the whole wish thing. So yeah, I'm very interested in that. And then to end this off, we see Ron's again at the end of this episode as well, and she is at Neil. She's kneeling down. She's in the suit that she wears with she is like helping with the Gakuto and his drawing and all that stuff, like Renosuke does as well, which he actually wore in his episode, which I thought was kind of hilarious. And she's just kneeling down, and Sebastian kind of gets mad at her, and all Neil says to end the episode off is like, "This does not follow my providence," and that's how they end the episode off there. So that was probably the most interesting thing other than the maximum thing, because the tournament after I read the team battle royale, I think it would made sense for the rush for having a rush duel tournament. I think that kind of indicated that. I think that kind of like told us that this was going to be a tournament arc, so not surprised with that. But this thing I probably would say was the most shocking thing, because this is where I was talking about, where she was talking about earlier, where, she was trying to be her own person. If she's trying to be her own person and kind of being like this protagonist, why are you going to another person? Like, you're basically saying, like, this is basically showing me it's like one person didn't work out, so you're going to try to do the next person. Like, I don't know. It didn't fit very well. Maybe, and there is a very good chance that I'm looking at this the wrong way, and I do that sometimes from time to time, is that I look at it in a different way, and I might be looking at it the wrong way. And if that's the case, that's okay. I mean, I'm not. I'm gonna admit, if I'm wrong on the way it should be looked at, then I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not gonna be mad about that. So that is just something that was very interesting, and that really came out of nowhere. So who really knows? Early prediction, though, I because the thing with this team battle royale arc is I don't know how this is going to work, because based off the name of the arc, it sounds like they're gonna go kind of like a team arc. Now, I don't know what the team is going to compose of, if it's going to be like a team of three or a team of four, which, if this is another scenario where it's a team of three, I don't know how in the world this is going to work. Because, well, I don't know. Because I guess it can work. Like, you can have Team Yuga, Rook, and Gakuto, but are you just going to do the same thing you did last arc and shaft Roman out of it? Or who knows, maybe they shaft Gakuto out this time. They give Roman support. They're not going to leave Luke out of it. There's no way at all they're going to do it. And the same thing with Yuga. They're definitely not going to do it with him either. So I really don't know what way they're going to do this, but I'm very intrigued to see. Oh, or who knows? Maybe Roman will go back with Roa and another member of her band. That might be another possibility that they can do. Or, and with that, maybe they can do like what they did in the first arc, and they just leave Geta out of the dueling and make it Gakuto, Roman, Omayo, Yoshio. Or because Omayo, Yoshio normally gets forgotten, maybe they can actually left them out and give Geta-chan a good chance to actually show his strength. Who really knows? I feel so bad for this too. I really do. This would be another way they also get Asana into there. I mean, she has her own group with Galleon and or the Dove, I should say, because Shrew apparently does not duel. You can get Bakuro's group in there. You can get Mitsuboro's group in there. Like, there's so many possibilities that you can really do with this, depending on which way they do it. But with that being said, guys, that is going to be it for this episode review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on this episode were. Did you like this episode? Were you in the middle of this episode? Or did you not really like this episode? And what were your thoughts on the duel and all of the stuff that ended up happening, from the mentioning of a kid getting a maximum card, to where Ron's joining Neil's side, to just the Rush Duel tournament in general? Like, let me know all your guys' thoughts on this, and what do you think the story is going to go? Like, I'm very intrigued to see what maybe some theories and thoughts that you guys might have in regards of where this story might go with this tournament. Very excited to know your guys' thoughts on this down below. But guys, that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.